The void above Earth shimmered with quiet anticipation, a stillness that stretched across millions of kilometers of space like a held breath. For centuries, humanity had stared into the stars and wondered, whispered about what might dwell beyond the pale blue dot. And now, the answer had come, not with a roar of conquest, but with a seemingly fragile gesture: alien diplomats, descending in vessels of iridescent light, delicate as gossamer, yet imbued with a presence that hinted at power beyond comprehension. Their forms shimmered, shifting between shapes, colors, and energies no human eye could fully grasp, moving with an elegance that was simultaneously alien and precise, on the edge of the solar system. Orbiting the gas giant's distant moon, the Titan-class warship awaited. A monolith of human ingenuity, colossal and gleaming, it hung in the darkness like a sentinel forged of steel and ambition. Its surface shimmered with rotating arrays of plasma conduits, gravitic stabilizers thrummed with quiet energy, and the engines glowed faintly, a heartbeat of controlled power waiting for a command that might never come. It was not a ship built for parley, it was a ship built to assert that humanity, fragile and fleeting though it might be, was not to be underestimated. The Diplomats' vessels approached Earth slowly, cautiously, their movements hesitant, aware of the unseen guardian waiting beyond the atmosphere. Humanity had studied alien life, trained its intellect against every conceivable challenge, and yet nothing could fully prepare them for the beauty and alien logic of these emissaries. They were a challenge wrapped in elegance, a test of perception and will. Sensors aboard the Titan-class warship flared as they observed every shimmer of energy, every pattern in the Diplomats' formation, parsing the subtle mathematics that spoke of intelligence older than the human imagination. For a moment, the universe held its breath. The Diplomats hovered in Earth's upper atmosphere, radiating calm and calculation, as if waiting for a response. Humanity did not respond with hesitation. The warship's commander studied the alien patterns. Observing micro-shifts in energy flows, flickers in the electromagnetic aura that betrayed instinct beneath their polished precision. Humanity had learned that in the cosmic theater, observation was as lethal as weaponry, understanding as powerful as plasma. Every operator, every analyst, every mind aboard the Titan-class warship was a node in a network of purpose, ready to act at a heartbeat's notice. Then, the Diplomats' formation shifted, coalescing into shapes that pulsed like living architecture. Their approach was still slow, deliberate, a message of intent that humans could barely decipher. And in that deliberate pace lay a silent calculation: they were testing, probing, measuring humanity's readiness. And in turn, humanity's will measured them. From the ship's bridge, the view of Earth below, the oceans glinting under the sun, the continents sprawling with life, the fragile blue atmosphere, reminded every human aboard of what they defended, and what they embodied. Humanity's legacy was fragile, yet brilliant, a testament to survival, intellect, and moral depth across eons of struggle. Sensors began to detect anomalies within the Diplomats' energy patterns, micropulses that could be communication, or perhaps scanning, probing, calculating. Humans responded with subtle maneuvers, deploying reconnaissance drones to map alien energy signatures without provoking aggression. Each movement was deliberate. A statement: humanity observed, humanity adapted, humanity would not be unprepared. In the quiet moments between pulses, engineers recalibrated shield matrices, tacticians refined vector alignments, and the ship itself seemed to hum with anticipation, as if it understood the gravity of its purpose. Time stretched in the vastness of space, measured not in seconds but in the tension of awareness. The Diplomats circled the planet, and still no weapon was drawn, yet the very presence of their energy sent ripples through every human sensor and mind. And then, from the edge of the atmosphere, the first sign of intent became clear: a subtle alignment of ships, a wave of concentrated energy that signaled more than greeting. It signaled recognition. Humanity's response was not in fear, but in clarity. The Titan-class warship activated its systems fully, not as a threat, but as a declaration: Earth was not to be underestimated. For hours, the dance continued, a ballet of light, energy, and intent. The aliens tested, humans calculated, and both sides measured intelligence against will, beauty against defiance. And then, as the Diplomats moved to retreat, a signal was detected across the human fleet, a warning, not yet a strike, a pulse that hinted at power beyond understanding. The humans realized that diplomacy had never been the true intention. It was a test, and one that required a demonstration of resolve the universe would never forget. The Titan-class warship's engines flared, a subtle yet undeniable assertion of presence, as if the monolith itself had drawn a line in the void. Humanity was prepared, and in the stillness between observation and action, the crew felt the weight of what was to come. They understood that intelligence, ingenuity, and courage were their weapons, and they would wield them without hesitation. In that moment, the diplomats paused, as if sensing the resolve emanating from the human warship, and the first wave of cosmic tension hung suspended over Earth. The universe seemed to listen, and somewhere deep within the engines, where power thrummed like a heartbeat, humanity whispered its first defiance. The diplomats lingered above Earth for hours, their shimmering vessels suspended in the fragile atmosphere like living jewels, refracting sunlight into colors no human eye had names for. Sensors aboard the Titan-class warship recorded every pulse, every wave of energy, every subtle fluctuation that might betray intent. What humans saw as elegance, the aliens might have called logic. What humans perceived as hesitation, the aliens might have seen as calculation. And yet, the humans did not wait passively. They had learned, through centuries of exploration, study, and war, that survival was never passive. It demanded observation, adaptation, and the courage to act when the moment revealed itself. From orbit, the Earth below glimmered with quiet beauty, oceans rolling like molten sapphire under the sun, continents sprawling in their endless diversity, cities glowing faintly in the night like constellations reflected on the surface. It was fragile, ephemeral, and brilliant all at once. The humans aboard the warship understood that the stakes were far greater than survival. They were guardians of something immeasurably precious. And that knowledge sharpened their minds, focused their calculations, and steeled their resolve. A sudden pulse ran through the diplomats' formation, subtle at first, barely perceptible. The warship's sensors flared, analyzing the waveform, mapping it, breaking it into components. Engineers adjusted the plasma arrays and gravitic shields, ensuring that every possible contingency was accounted for. Drones were deployed into low orbit and the upper atmosphere, their sensors scanning and recording, weaving a web of observation that would allow humanity to anticipate, to learn, and perhaps, to act decisively. Then, without warning, one of the diplomats' vessels shifted its energy field sharply, a ripple that ran across the formation, sending micropulses cascading toward the Earth. Humans aboard the Titan-class warship interpreted the movement, anticipating the outcome within seconds. Gravimetric stabilizers flared, plasma arcs bent subtly through space. And tactical drones adjusted their vectors, a choreographed ballet of anticipation and reaction. Humanity had turned the simple act of observation into action, demonstrating a resolve the aliens might not have expected. Moments of quiet punctuated the tension. The crew watched as the diplomats moved with deliberate grace, their forms folding into new geometries, pulsing with internal energy. It was as though the aliens themselves were testing the humans, measuring comprehension, intelligence, and patience. But humanity had learned long ago that the measure of survival is not in hesitation but in understanding. Each analysis, each adjustment, each calculation became a statement. Earth was not defenseless. Humanity was awake. Humanity was ready. A low hum began to vibrate through the Titan-class warship, subtle but insistent, signaling the activation of full defensive protocols. Energy shields shimmered across the hull, engines flared in quiet anticipation, and the plasma arrays hummed like a living heartbeat. The humans were not preparing for aggression, they were asserting presence. In the stillness, the universe itself seemed to pause, as though acknowledging the silent declaration. The guardians of Earth were not idle, and they would respond with precision if provoked. Then came the first undeniable test. One of the diplomat vessels surged forward, energy radiating outward in waves that twisted the surrounding space. Tactical drones reacted instantly, weaving between energy currents, recording every fluctuation. Engineers adjusted gravitic fields to create micro-shields, bending the alien pulse harmlessly around the warship's hull. Sensors analyzed the alien waveform in real time, and the humans realized that the Diplomats' display was more than ceremonial. It was a test of adaptability, a probe of human ingenuity. The warship responded with quiet elegance, not violence. Plasma lances flared along precise vectors, illuminating the Diplomats' energy fields without striking them directly. Gravitic projectors created subtle distortions in space, forcing the alien vessels to compensate, revealing micropatterns in their coordination. The humans were learning, adapting, asserting intelligence in a conversation of energy, intent, and precision. This was not combat, not yet, but it was a clash of wills, a dialogue without words, a demonstration that humanity would not be passive. Below, Earth rotated silently, oceans reflecting light from distant stars, cities glowing faintly in the dark. And above, the Diplomats seemed to hesitate, their forms flickering, energy pulses converging and dispersing as though they sensed the resolve emanating from the warship. Humanity had made its first impression, alert, intelligent, unflinching. In the quiet moments between pulses, the crew of the Titan-class warship reflected on what they were witnessing, an encounter unlike any before. A delicate balance of awe, tension, and the unyielding determination to defend their home. Hours passed, measured not in time but in intention. The Diplomats' movements became more deliberate, their patterns more intricate. Humans mirrored the caution with calculation, every micromove recorded, analyzed, and interpreted. And then, as if acknowledging the lesson, the Diplomats shifted course slightly, retreating toward the upper orbit, leaving behind a pulse that resonated across the warship's sensors. It was subtle, yet unmistakable. A challenge had been presented, and humanity had met it with clarity, intelligence, and quiet defiance. In that moment, the Titan-class warship's engines flared with purpose. A reminder of latent power held in readiness. Humanity had not acted aggressively, yet it had asserted presence, intellect, and moral resolve. The Diplomats had been tested, and the humans had not wavered. For the crew, for Earth, and for all who would look to the stars, the message was clear: humanity was awake, aware, and unafraid, and deep within the hull, where power thrummed like a living heartbeat, the warship whispered a promise, one that no alien calculus could ignore: Earth will not yield. The Diplomats' retreat was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it sent ripples across every sensor aboard the Titan-class warship. It was a movement that implied calculation, a test deferred but not abandoned. And humanity understood that the universe was now speaking in a language written in energy, intention, and subtle force. From orbit, the Earth below seemed fragile, a pale jewel of life suspended against the darkness, yet that fragility only sharpened the crew's determination. Every human aboard the warship knew they were guardians not only of survival, but of legacy, of a species that had crawled from dust to dominance through intelligence, courage, and audacity. The first overt escalation came not as a roar but as a ripple, an alien pulse of energy, bright and coherent, arcing across the void between the Diplomats' vessels. It bent space around it, stretching the laws of physics into a visual poetry of light and force. The warship's sensors flared, engines thrummed with anticipation, and tactical drones launched in unison, weaving into the energy currents with the precision of a living organism. Engineers adjusted plasma arrays, gravitic dampeners rippling through the hull, and the human mind turned observation into action, decoding waveforms faster than any computer could anticipate. The alien Diplomats were no longer just observers, they were a challenge, a force that sought to measure human ingenuity in motion. Each pulse, each shift of energy, revealed subtle gaps in their coordination, micromoments of imperfection that only a species capable of rapid learning and improvisation could exploit. The Titan-class warship bent with purpose, shields flexing in rhythmic resonance, engines twisting the battlefield in orbit, and the crew acted as one organism, intellect and courage fused into an unbroken chain of strategy. Then came the first display of scale. From the fringes of the Diplomats' formation, constructs began to emerge, structures of alien matter that defied geometry, twisting upward like living towers, pulsing with energy that seemed to hum with thought. They rose with impossible elegance, their forms folding in on themselves, fractals of intelligence made manifest. The humans observed carefully, mapping structural weaknesses, analyzing energy flows, and deploying tactical drones to probe, disrupt, and record. Every maneuver was an exercise in calculation and courage, a human response to an intelligence that had evolved far longer than Earth itself. The first strike was subtle, almost surgical. A microdrone deployed to the edge of a construct released a cascade of gravitic microdisruptors, twisting the alien energy currents into momentary chaos. The construct convulsed, its pulse faltering, and the diplomats adjusted in response, energy flaring across space like a storm of liquid light. Humanity had turned observation into preemptive action, demonstrating not force but intellect, proving that even against an alien intelligence, ingenuity could assert itself, for hours. The battlefield above Earth remained a theater of tension, a ballet of intelligence and power. The Titan-class warship moved with deliberation, plasma lances flaring across the void, gravitic projectors warping space to protect and to position, drones darting through alien energy currents with unparalleled precision. Every moment was a lesson, every observation a potential advantage, and the humans learned at a pace that rivaled instinct itself. Amid the tactical brilliance, moments of quiet reflection punctuated the tension. Crew members gazed at Earth below, oceans shimmering, continents sprawling, cities glowing like distant constellations. The contrast was stark, the fragile beauty of human existence versus the alien precision above. And yet, in that fragility lay humanity's strength, the ability to adapt, to improvise, to act with moral depth and creativity that even the most advanced intelligence might not predict. These pauses were not idle, they were strategic, introspective, and vital. The escalation continued as the alien constructs coordinated in tandem, forming barriers and vectors that threatened to overwhelm. Energy waves pulsed across kilometers, warping light and gravity in ways that could disorient the unprepared. But humans had anticipated, prepared, and adapted. Gravimetric shields flexed, plasma arrays concentrated on points of weakness, and tactical drones weaved like threads through the alien lattice. Each strike calculated to fracture coordination, to turn strength into vulnerability. Humanity was no longer merely reactive, they were dictating the tempo of the encounter. Then, in a surge of brilliance, the largest construct pivoted, folding space around itself, attempting to envelop the Titan-class warship in a field of resonant energy. It was a test of will and comprehension, a challenge to the human mind. The crew responded in unison, engines flared in defiance, shields rippled like liquid metal, gravitic projectors bent space to create a path of opportunity, and plasma lances struck with pinpoint precision. The construct shuddered, energy cascading outward in flashes of blinding brilliance. Yet the humans did not falter. Every observation, every calculation, every heartbeat of courage had converged in this singular moment, asserting human presence in the cosmic dialogue. Amid the chaos, the humans glimpsed patterns, subtle, repeating, almost imperceptible. The aliens, brilliant as they were, had limitations, and human ingenuity began to exploit them. Tactical drones adjusted, plasma beams converged on points previously unseen, and gravitic waves shifted the battlefield subtly, turning alien advantage into vulnerability. Humanity's intellect, adaptability, and audacity had transformed observation into dominance, not by sheer force but by understanding, improvisation, and relentless calculation. As the constructs faltered, the diplomats hesitated, energy pulses flickering, their forms folding and coalescing in ways that betrayed caution. Humanity had spoken without words. The Titan-class warship, colossal and serene, had asserted a presence that even an intelligence older than stars could not ignore. Earth remained unscathed, but the encounter had shifted. Humanity had shown its capacity to observe, adapt, and act with purpose beyond instinct. And in the quiet moments after the first decisive shifts, the crew of the Titan-class warship felt a pulse of clarity. The universe had measured them, and humanity had not only endured the test, they had begun to set the terms. The stars above shimmered, distant witnesses to a species that refused to yield, that would meet intelligence with intellect, and that would rise against even the oldest forces with courage, creativity, and unbroken defiance. Humanity had awakened, and the cosmos would never be the same. The alien diplomats had withdrawn only slightly, but their presence still dominated the sky above Earth, a shimmering web of light and energy that bent perception and threatened comprehension. They were no longer simply observers. They had begun a subtle orchestration, a test that stretched across planetary scales, a demonstration of power both elegant and terrifying. From orbit, the Titan-class warship appeared almost serene. A colossal monument of human ingenuity, yet every crew member felt the weight of anticipation pressing against the edges of the void. Humanity had not yet seen the full measure of alien capability, but they were ready, honed by centuries of struggle, intellect, and unyielding defiance. The first surge of aggression came without warning. One of the Diplomats' constructs split, folding space around itself in an instant, and surged toward Earth's upper atmosphere. Energy waves cascaded outward, bending light, gravity, and magnetic fields in ways that no human had ever witnessed firsthand. The Titan-class warship responded immediately. Engines flared, gravitic projectors rippled across the hull, and plasma arrays fired in arcs calculated to disperse the energy without unnecessary destruction. Tactical drones darted through the turbulent space, analyzing, probing, and exploiting micro-weaknesses in the alien formation. Every system, every mind aboard the warship, worked in unison, a symphony of observation and reaction. The constructs were vast, incomprehensible in scale. Each pulsed with intelligence, structures shifting in patterns that seemed impossible, fractal geometries that twisted the senses and bent perception. Energy tendrils extended like fingers, probing, testing, challenging human comprehension. And yet, humanity did not falter. The warship's shields flexed, engines adjusted trajectories with imperceptible precision. And tactical systems moved in anticipation rather than reaction. Humans had learned that in the presence of such intelligence, the sharpest weapon was comprehension, the ability to see patterns where others saw chaos. Then came the first direct engagement. A massive construct, folding space around itself like liquid metal, collided with a plasma arc fired from the Titan-class warship. The explosion was not merely physical, it resonated across the battlefield, waves of energy pulsing through the void, altering perception and gravitational flow. Tactical drones intercepted smaller energy tendrils, diverting attacks, recording every movement, and relaying critical data to the warship's command systems. Humanity had turned observation into strategy, transforming potential vulnerability into decisive opportunity. Moments of quiet punctuated the chaos. The crew watched Earth rotate below, oceans reflecting distant starlight, continents sprawling with fragile, beautiful life. The contrast between the planet's serenity and the tumult above crystallized a truth. The battle was not just for survival, but for the affirmation of humanity's place in the cosmos. These quiet reflections, brief as they were, sharpened human focus. Each calculation, each strategic adjustment, was informed by not only logic but moral clarity, the resolve to defend life, intelligence, and the future. The alien constructs responded with increasing coordination. Energy fields folded, shifted, and converged, forming walls of light that twisted reality itself. Gravity bent subtly, plasma arcs rippled unpredictably, and the sheer scale of the assault threatened to overwhelm even the Titan-class warship. Yet the humans adapted with a precision that was almost artistic. Gravitic distortions created corridors of safety, plasma beams struck with surgical accuracy, and tactical drones exploited minute openings in alien coordination. Every movement was deliberate, a demonstration that human ingenuity could impose order on chaos, creativity on the incomprehensible. As the battle escalated, the warship's bridge became a hive of controlled intensity. Analysts tracked every pulse of alien energy, engineers adjusted shield harmonics in real time, and tactical officers directed drone swarms with near-prescient timing. Even against constructs millions of times larger than any human vessel, humanity's intellect and coordination turned potential disaster into opportunity. Each maneuver, each strike, each subtle adjustment was a testament to human adaptability, courage, and defiance. Then the largest of the constructs, towering, pulsating, and impossibly complex, descended from high orbit, moving with the inevitability of a predator. Its energy resonated across kilometers, shaking the void itself. Yet the humans did not flinch. The Titan-class warship pulsed in response. Engines flaring in rhythmic defiance, shields rippling like living metal, plasma arrays converging on the construct's micro-weak points identified through hours of observation and analysis. Tactical drones swarmed the structure, planting microdisruptors and mapping energy flows with precision that rivaled instinct. Humanity was no longer reacting, they were dictating the terms of engagement, bending the battlefield through intellect, creativity, and audacity. Amid the storm of light and energy, a moment of clarity emerged. The alien formation, brilliant and terrifying though it was, revealed a pattern, subtle, almost imperceptible, yet undeniable. The humans saw the opportunity. And with coordinated precision, they exploited it. Gravitic waves shifted, plasma lances struck simultaneously at converging nodes, and drones weaved between energy tendrils, disrupting coordination and fracturing the construct's defenses. Energy exploded outward in a cascade of brilliant light, illuminating the void with the undeniable proof that human intellect and courage could confront forces far older and more advanced than themselves. Even as the dust of energy settled, the diplomats above paused, their forms folding, pulsing, and refracting in ways that suggested recalculation. The humans had spoken without words. The Titan-class warship, colossal and serene, had asserted presence, intelligence, and moral resolve. Earth remained unscathed, but the encounter had shifted. The humans had demonstrated that survival alone was not enough. Humanity had begun to define the terms of interaction, proving that courage, ingenuity, and moral depth could contend with cosmic power, and in that brief quiet, as energy rippled and constructs reformed at the edges of perception, the crew felt the weight of what had been achieved. They had not merely endured, they had imposed intellect upon the incomprehensible, courage upon the inevitable, and defiance upon the indifferent. The universe had observed, and humanity had risen to meet it. The Titan-class warship pulsed softly. A heartbeat in the void, and humanity's quiet declaration resonated across space. We are awake, aware, and unyielding. The alien diplomats' vessels had shifted, retreating only to regroup, yet their presence above Earth was undeniable, a persistent hum of intelligence and power. The Titan-class warship hovered silently in orbit, colossal and resolute, a living monument of human ingenuity. Its engines glowed faintly, shields thrummed with latent energy, and tactical drones flitted like fireflies across the void, analyzing, mapping, and probing with relentless precision. Humanity had learned that survival alone was insufficient. To endure in the cosmic arena required intellect, creativity, and the moral courage to act when opportunity revealed itself. The first overt offensive came from the diplomats' constructs, a massive, twisting lattice of energy and living metal that surged toward Earth, distorting light and gravity as it moved. The warship responded instantly, engines flaring, gravitic projectors rippling space to create defensive corridors, plasma arrays igniting in arcs calculated for precision. Drones swarmed, weaving through the alien energy with agility impossible for their colossal targets to predict. Every movement was a demonstration not just of reaction, but of understanding, of human ingenuity applied in real time against forces that had existed far longer than Earth itself. The battlefield became a kaleidoscope of light and motion. Alien constructs rose and fell, energy tendrils whipping through the void, bending light into prisms of impossible colors. Humans adapted faster than the constructs could anticipate, turning observation into advantage, improvisation into strategy. Gravitic fields flexed to redirect attacks, plasma beams converged at nodes of structural weakness, and microdrones infiltrated alien formations to plant disruptive devices that sent cascading pulses through the enemy lattice. Every maneuver was a lesson, every strike a declaration. Humanity would not yield. Amidst the chaos, quiet moments revealed the stakes in stark clarity. Crew members gazed at Earth below, oceans glinting like molten sapphires, continents sprawling with fragile life, cities glowing like constellations. Humanity's existence was ephemeral, yet brilliant. These pauses sharpened resolve, transforming awe into determination, observation into foresight. It was a reminder that the war was not for dominance alone, but for the protection of life, intelligence, and the fragile beauty of a home world. The aliens responded with increasing coordination. Energy fields folded, shifted, and converged into massive barriers that twisted the battlefield itself. Gravity waves rippled unpredictably, plasma arcs struck in impossible trajectories, and the sheer scale of the assault threatened to overwhelm conventional defenses. Yet humanity adapted with elegant precision. Tactical drones exploited microgaps in the alien lattice, gravitic distortions created pockets of advantage, and the warship's plasma arrays struck with surgical timing. Every human action was a testament to intellect and courage, a signal that even against incomprehensible force, ingenuity could define the battlefield. Then came the first decisive maneuver. The largest construct, a cathedral of alien energy and living metal, pivoted and accelerated with terrifying speed toward the planet's surface. It was a predator, a test, a message. The Titan-class warship's engines flared in rhythmic defiance, shields rippling like liquid metal, plasma arrays converging on weak points identified through hours of meticulous observation. Tactical drones infiltrated the construct, deploying microdisruptors and mapping every energy flow, turning the alien advantage into vulnerability. Humanity was no longer merely responding, they were orchestrating the conflict, bending the battlefield through intellect, strategy, and audacity. Energy erupted in waves, cascading across the void with blinding brilliance, as the alien construct faltered. Yet the humans did not pause. Every operator, engineer, and strategist pressed forward, improvising and adapting with near-prescient precision. Plasma beams converged from multiple vectors, gravitic projectors twisted space to amplify the effects, and drones darted through the lattice to exploit fractures in coordination. The construct convulsed, energy cascading in flashes of radiant light, yet humanity held its ground, demonstrating that courage and intellect could contest even the most ancient forces in the galaxy. Amidst the battle, moments of reflection reminded the crew of what they were defending. Earth rotated silently below, oceans reflecting distant starlight, continents sprawling in quiet resilience. The stakes were immense, the pressure absolute, yet humanity's resolve had become a weapon of its own. Observation, calculation, creativity, and moral depth combined into a force that no alien calculus could fully anticipate. Every pulse of energy, every tactical adjustment, every heartbeat of courage reinforced a singular truth: humans would not yield. The alien formations began to falter. Their coordination, brilliant though it was, could not withstand the relentless adaptability of the humans. Tactical drones disrupted energy flows, plasma lances struck converging nodes, and gravitic projectors manipulated the battlefield with surgical precision. The Titan-class warship pulsed with energy, its presence a testament to human ingenuity and defiance. Humanity was dictating the terms now, demonstrating that intellect, courage, and moral resolve could bend even ancient cosmic forces to their will, and as the constructs withdrew, flickering and reforming at the edges of the battlefield, the humans understood the message they had sent. They had not merely survived, they had asserted presence, intelligence, and courage in a cosmic dialogue where words were energy, and action was the only language that mattered. The universe had measured humanity, and humanity had risen to meet it, unwavering, ingenious, and unbroken. The Titan-class warship hovered above the recovering battlefield, engines pulsing softly, shields rippling with quiet energy, a sentinel of intellect and will. Humanity had turned observation into dominance, courage into strategy, and ingenuity into triumph. In the vast silence that followed, the stars themselves seemed to bear witness to a species that refused to yield. Humanity had endured, and it had begun to command its place in the cosmos. The battlefield above Earth had settled into a tense, simmering quiet, yet the hum of alien energy still pulsed across the void like a heartbeat older than human memory. The Diplomats' constructs lingered at the edges of orbit, massive and fractal, their energy folding and refolding in geometries that defied comprehension. The Titan-class warship floated like an unyielding sentinel, colossal and serene, its hull shimmering with the pulse of engines, shields, and plasma arrays that radiated controlled power. Humanity had endured waves of alien calculation, but now the full scale of its defiance and ingenuity would be revealed. The first wave of the final assault unfolded like a cosmic symphony. Alien tendrils, vast and serpentine, arced across the void, their energy pulsing with conscious intent, each strike calculated to probe weaknesses, to destabilize, to overwhelm. The humans aboard the Titan-class warship reacted with a precision born of experience and intellect. Engines flared in rhythmic harmony, gravitic projectors bent space itself to create corridors of advantage, and plasma arrays converged on critical nodes with almost artistic precision. Tactical drones darted between the alien forms like threads of light, striking at weaknesses too subtle for raw force to exploit. Every action was deliberate, every movement a statement of human adaptability and courage. The largest alien entity rose. A cathedral of energy and living metal towering across kilometers, its pulse resonating with sentience. It moved as if aware of every human thought, every calculation, every heartbeat aboard the warship. Yet humanity did not flinch. Boarding units deployed via gravitic pods infiltrated the alien entity, navigating corridors of shifting energy and matter, planting disruptors and micro-explosives at critical junctions. Tactical drones streamed through the lattice, feeding real-time data back to the warship, guiding plasma strikes, gravitic distortions, and maneuvers with precision no alien could anticipate. Humanity's ingenuity had become its weapon, a symphony of intellect and courage orchestrated across the vastness of space. Energy exploded outward in cascades of light and force, illuminating the alien constructs like storms of liquid fire. The largest entity convulsed, folding and collapsing under the coordinated human assault, yet its pulse remained defiant. And still, the humans pressed forward. Every operator, every engineer, every strategist synchronized with the warship's hum, converging intellect, creativity, and moral resolve into a singular wave of defiance. The battlefield became a tapestry of energy, where human ingenuity dictated the tempo and shape of the encounter, and even the most ancient alien intelligence could not fully adapt. Amidst the chaos, moments of reflection emerged, brief yet profound. Crew members gazed at Earth below, oceans shimmering under distant starlight, continents sprawling in quiet resilience. Life, fragile and fleeting, had demanded protection, and humanity understood its role with clarity and purpose. Each tactical decision, each daring maneuver, was not merely survival, it was affirmation, proof that humanity's moral depth and intellect could contend with cosmic forces far older than themselves. The alien forces faltered, their formations breaking under precise strikes, disrupted energy flows, and the relentless pressure of human creativity. Constructs collapsed in cascades of fractal energy, tendrils snapping and twisting as they became destabilized. And the Diplomats' presence pulsed with hesitation, as if sensing the unyielding resolve radiating from the warship. Humanity had turned observation into dominance, intellect into action, and courage into strategy. The battlefield was no longer a test, it was a declaration, and then, the final convergence. Plasma lances from the Titan-class warship converged on the largest alien cathedral, gravitic projectors bending space to concentrate energy, tactical drones striking at nodes previously invisible, and human boarding units delivering the final blows. Energy exploded outward in a cosmic symphony of light, soundless yet deafening in impact, fracturing the alien entity into streams of dispersing energy that glittered like shattered stars. The Diplomats' vessels pulsed once, then retreated, reforming at the edges of perception, hesitant, uncertain, acknowledging the brilliance, courage, and moral depth of humanity. In the aftermath, the battlefield was transformed. Alien constructs lay fractured, energy dissipating into the void, while the Titan-class warship hovered above, colossal and serene, engines pulsing softly as if breathing. Tactical drones swept the plains, capturing the remnants of the encounter, while crew members reflected on the enormity of what had been achieved. Humanity had faced forces older than stars, intelligences beyond comprehension, and had emerged not merely intact, but triumphant. Every calculation, every maneuver, every heartbeat of courage had forged a legacy in the cosmic order. The quiet that followed was profound. Stars shimmered in distant silence, oceans below reflected the distant suns, and the fragile beauty of Earth reminded the humans of what they had protected. The Titan-class warship pulsed one final time, a heartbeat of resolve and defiance, a testament that even in a universe indifferent to life, human will, intellect, creativity, and moral depth were indomitable. Humanity had not merely survived, they had asserted their presence in the cosmos, and the universe had witnessed it, and in the stillness above the recovering planet, the crew understood a singular truth: the cosmos may be vast, indifferent, and hostile, but human ingenuity, courage, and moral resolve shine brighter than any star. Humanity had risen, and the universe would never forget.